The stars stretched like endless silver rivers, quiet and calm yet full of secrets. Among them traveled a lone starship, old but strong. It was not large, not covered with the bright colors of an empire. It was simple, carrying only one man. His name was Rin, a human warrior who had crossed many worlds and seen both kindness and cruelty. Rin's journey was not one of conquest. He had been chosen by his people to carry a message of peace to a proud alien kingdom. For years, humans and this alien race had remained distant, separated by fear and doubt. Now, both sides searched for a way to speak, to build something new. Rin had been chosen not because he was the strongest, but because he had proven to be brave, patient, and loyal to his word. As his ship neared the alien world, Rin stood at the viewing window. He saw the planet below. Vast oceans, green lands, and great golden towers rising from the surface like shining spears. This was the world of the Solari, a people known for their beauty, strength, and fierce pride. He had heard many tales. They were taller than humans, their skin carrying faint colors of silver or gold, their eyes glowing like stars. They were warriors, poets, and rulers, living in great cities of crystal and stone. Rin's ship descended through the clouds, guided by the Solari Guardians. At last, he stepped onto the wide landing ground before the gates of their capital. Thousands of Solari stood watching, curious and cautious. Some whispered about the human's short height and simple armor. Others laughed quietly, seeing him as a small figure compared to their tall warriors clad in bright armor. At the front of the gathering stood the Princess Elira, daughter of the Solari Queen. She was tall, graceful, with silver patterns on her arms that glowed softly under the sun. Her eyes, bright as twin stars, studied Rin carefully. She raised one hand to cover her mouth, then laughed lightly. "Is this the warrior the humans send? Us?" she said, her voice carrying across the field. "So small, so plain. He looks more like a traveler lost in the market than a fighter from the stars." The crowd joined in her laughter. Solari warriors nodded and smiled, proud of their princess's words. Rin stood still. His face did not show anger. He did not raise his voice, nor did he bow in shame. He looked up at the princess with calm eyes and simply answered, "I did not come here to show size. I came to bring my people's respect." His voice was steady, simple, yet it carried a weight that silenced the field. The Solari stopped their laughter. Even Princess Elira, though still proud, blinked in surprise at the human's reply. From the high balcony of the Crystal Palace, another figure had been watching. The Queen of the Solari, mother of Elira, stood tall in her shining robe of gold. Her presence was strong, her eyes sharper than any blade. Unlike her daughter, she did not laugh. Instead, her gaze rested on Rin with a strange intensity, as if his face awakened something long buried in her memory. The queen whispered softly to herself, unheard by the others. It cannot be. And yet, Rin was then invited into the grand hall of the palace. The ceiling stretched high like the sky, filled with glowing crystals that lit the chamber with soft light. Rows of Solari guards stood at each side, their spears shining. At the far end sat the queen on her throne, and beside her stood Princess Elira, still watching Rin with curiosity mixed with pride. The queen spoke first. Her voice was calm, but powerful, filling the hall. "Human warrior, you stand in the heart of the Solari kingdom. Speak your purpose." Rin bowed slightly, placing his hand over his chest. "Great Queen of the Solari, I bring greetings from the people of Earth. For many years our stars have remained apart, but we believe both our races are strong, and together we may learn much. I come to show that humans bring not only strength, but also honor and peace." The hall was quiet. Many Solari whispered among themselves. Some nodded with respect, but others frowned, thinking the human's words were empty. Princess Elira stepped forward, her voice clear. "Words are easy. My people respect strength, not speeches. If this human wishes to stand among us, he must prove himself. Let him face our trials. Let him show us if he is more than a soft voice." The crowd cheered. The trials of the Solari were known across the stars. They tested body, mind, and spirit. Few outsiders had ever passed them. Rin lifted his head. He did not smile, nor did he step back. "If trials are your way to measure truth," he said, "then I will face them." Princess Elira looked at him with a slight smirk, yet deep inside, she wondered. He had not been shaken by her laughter nor by the challenge of the trials. His calmness unsettled her. The queen raised her hand, silencing the crowd. She looked into Rin's eyes with that same strange, searching gaze. For a moment her proud mask softened and something like memory flickered in her eyes. Then she spoke. "So be it. Tomorrow, the trials will begin. May truth reveal itself." That night, Rin was given a chamber within the palace. It was grand and beautiful, with walls of crystal and fountains of clear water. Yet Rin did not rest easily. He sat by the window, looking at the alien sky filled with strange constellations. His thoughts were heavy. He remembered his childhood, distant memories of being lost among stars, of a shipwreck, of being carried by unknown hands. The images were unclear, yet they stirred whenever he looked upon the Solari Queen. Something about her presence felt familiar. In the great hall, Princess Elira spoke with her mother. "Why do you look at him so, mother? He is only a human. He cannot match us. Tomorrow the trials will break him." The queen did not answer at once. Her eyes stayed fixed on the stars beyond the window. Finally she said softly, "Do not be so quick to judge, Elira. You may laugh now, but tomorrow you may see more than you expect." Elira frowned, confused by her mother's tone, but she said nothing more. The palace grew silent as night deepened. Yet in that silence, the paths of fate moved closer. The human warrior, mocked by the princess, now stood at the edge of trials that would test not only his strength but the secrets of his past. And far above, the queen kept her secret hidden, for now. Morning light touched the golden towers of the Solari capital. The sound of drums echoed across the wide square before the palace. Thousands of Solari had gathered, their eyes bright with excitement. Today the human warrior would face the trials of respect. Few outsiders had ever stood where he now stood, and fewer still had walked away with honor. Rin stood calm at the center of the square. He wore simple armor, the same he had brought from Earth. Around him stood Solari warriors, their tall frames shining in polished silver armor. Princess Elira sat high on a balcony, her expression half amused, half curious. She still remembered how he had stood firm when she laughed at him. She wanted to see if he could stand firm again. The queen entered the balcony beside her daughter. She raised her hand and the drums stopped. The square fell silent. Her voice carried across the gathering. "Today the human warrior will face the trials of our people. He will be tested in strength, in wisdom, and in courage. Let truth guide us." The crowd cheered, stamping their feet. The trials began. The trial of strength. From the gates came a creature the size of a house. Its body was covered in dark scales, its eyes glowing with fire. The Solari called it a Drakkar beast, one of the fiercest creatures in their world. Even Solari warriors feared to fight it alone. The crowd gasped as the beast roared, shaking the ground. Princess Elira leaned forward, expecting the human to show fear. Yet Rin only tightened his grip on his simple blade. His face was calm, though. His eyes studied every movement of the beast. The beast charged, its heavy steps breaking stone. Rin rolled aside, quick and light. His small size, mocked before, now became his strength. He dodged under its tail, struck at its leg, then leapt, away before it could crush him. The crowd shouted in surprise. The fight raged. The beast's jaws snapped inches from his head, but Rin did not back away. He fought not with brute force, but with patience. Slowly, he tired the beast, striking only when he saw a weak spot. At last, with one sharp thrust, he pierced its neck where the scales were thin. The creature fell with a final cry, shaking the ground as it died. The square was silent, then filled with cheers. Even Solari warriors clapped their hands against their armor. Princess Elira frowned, but her eyes widened with reluctant respect. "He fought well," she whispered, almost to herself. The queen watched silently. Her eyes softened as she looked at Rin, as though seeing not just a warrior but a memory walking before her. The trial of wisdom. After the beast was taken away, Rin was led into the palace's crystal hall. There, before him, stood 3 glowing stones on a pedestal. The trial master, an elder Solari, spoke. "One of these stones will bring water, one will bring fire, and one will bring nothing. You must choose the right order to save a dying village. If you fail, the village burns or starves. What do you choose first, human?" The puzzle was known to test logic and heart. Many warriors had failed because they chose without thought. Rin studied the stones. He thought of the question not as a game, but as life. A village. People. Children. What would they need first? He placed his hand on the stone of water. It glowed blue and a stream of water filled a basin. The elder nodded. "Why water first?" the elder asked. "Because without water life ends before anything else," Rin answered simply. He then chose the stone of fire. Flames rose, warming the hall. Fire after water, to cook food, to keep warm, to guard against the night. Last, he touched the empty stone. Nothing happened. Even emptiness has its place. Sometimes the greatest wisdom is knowing when nothing is needed. The elder bowed his head. The human speaks with balance. He has passed. The crowd, who had been watching on crystal screens, cheered again. Princess Elira looked down, thoughtful. Her pride still held, but she could not deny the human had answered with wisdom. The trial of courage. The last trial was held deep within the palace caves, where no sunlight reached. Rin was led into darkness with only a torch. The voice of the queen echoed through hidden speakers. "Here lies the trial of courage. It is not strength of body nor cleverness of mind. It is the strength of the heart. Walk forward, human. Face what you fear." The caves twisted in silence. Shadows moved along the walls. Rin's steps echoed, each one heavier than the last. Suddenly, shapes appeared, ghostly images from his past. He saw his ship broken in the stars. He saw fire. He saw himself as a boy lost and alone, reaching out for help that never came. His chest grew heavy. He dropped to his knees, clutching the torch. Fear rose in him like a storm. He could almost hear the laughter of the void, the emptiness that once tried to swallow him. But then he remembered his purpose. He was not that boy anymore. He had grown, he had fought, and he had carried the hope of his people. Slowly, he stood, again lifting the torch high. "I am not afraid of the past," he said aloud, his voice firm. "I will not let shadows rule me." At that moment, the illusions faded. The cave opened into light, and the queen herself was there, waiting. She looked at him closely, her eyes almost shining with hidden emotion. For a heartbeat, she looked as though she wanted to speak something deep and secret. But she only nodded. "You have passed the trial of courage," she said. Respect earned. When Rin returned to the square, the Solari shouted his name. No longer did they see him as small or plain. They saw him as a warrior who had faced beast, puzzle, and shadow without fear. Princess Elira stood beside her mother. Her eyes were conflicted. She remembered how she laughed at him on the first day. Now she felt something different. Respect, though she did not want to admit it. "He is stronger than I thought," she whispered. The queen looked at her daughter. "Strength is not only in size or power, Elira. Sometimes it lies in patience, in wisdom, in courage. You would do well to learn this." Elira lowered her eyes, thinking deeply. Rin stood in the center of the square. He bowed to the queen, but his eyes lingered for a moment on her face. Something about her voice in the cave, something about the way she looked at him, stirred old memories. He could not explain it, but deep inside, he felt a strange connection. To her, like a thread that had been tied long ago. The queen, too, felt it. She hid it well, but in her heart, the past whispered, "It is him. It must be him." The drum sounded again, but this time it was not for laughter. It was for honor. The human had faced the trials of the Solari, and he had stood tall. The trials were only the beginning. The night after the trials was filled with music and light. The Solari celebrated in their own way, with glowing crystals hung across the streets and drums echoing like thunder. People spoke of the human warrior who had faced the Drakkar beast, solved the puzzle of wisdom, and walked through the cave of shadows without falling. Children played in the streets, holding small carvings of the beast he had slain. Young warriors raised cups of golden drink and called his name. For the first time in their history, the Solari shouted for a human as if he were one of their own. But while the city celebrated, Rin sat alone in the guest chamber of the palace. He looked out at the alien night sky. The constellations were strange to him, yet one cluster of stars seemed familiar. He could not remember why. His mind tugged at old memories, but they slipped away like sand through his fingers. Rin pressed a hand to his forehead. He remembered fire. He remembered being small, afraid. He remembered arms lifting him, carrying him away from danger. But whose arms? Where had it happened? The more he tried to recall, the heavier his chest grew. It was as though the answers were near, yet locked behind a door he could not open. A princess's doubt, in another chamber. Princess Elira paced back and forth. She could not forget the trials. She had expected the human to fail, to be humbled, before her people. Instead, he had triumphed. Her pride was shaken. She had laughed at him openly, but now her people praised him. Some warriors even said he had the heart of a true Solari. Elira clenched her fists. She did not like being proven wrong, yet deep inside she felt something else. Respect, curiosity, even admiration. His calmness, his patience, his refusal to answer insult with anger. It was unlike many of her own warriors, who lived for pride and glory. Still, Elira was not ready to admit it. She told herself, "He is human. He cannot be one of us." But her mother's words echoed in her mind. "You may see more than you expect." The Queen's memory. That night, the Queen walked alone. In her private garden, silver flowers glowed under the moonlight and fountains sang softly. She moved slowly, her thoughts heavy. Her mind returned to a night many years ago when the stars had burned with fire. A small craft had fallen from the sky, broken and burning. From its wreckage she had found a child, weak, frightened, human. His eyes had been full of tears but also of life. She had carried him in her arms. She had whispered comfort to him. For a time she had kept him hidden within the palace. But the child had vanished soon after, carried away by events she could not control. She had never spoken of it, not even to her daughter. Now, as she looked at Rin, she felt the same presence, the same spirit. Could it be? Could the boy she once held have returned as this warrior? The thought shook her. If it were true, then fate had brought them together again. But why now? And what would it mean for her daughter? The Queen placed a hand on her heart. She whispered to the silent garden, "Is it truly you?" Whispers in the hall later that night, Rin walked the palace halls, unable to rest. The air was cool, and the crystals in the walls glowed faintly. His footsteps echoed softly. As he turned a corner, he heard voices from a nearby chamber. He paused. The voices were familiar, the Queen and her daughter. He did not mean to eavesdrop, but their words came clear through the thin doorway. "He is only a human," Elira said firmly. "Why do you give him so much honor? Why do you look at him as if he is more than a guest?" The Queen's voice was calm but heavy. "Because I see something in him, Elira. Something I once knew. His spirit is not foreign to me." "You speak in riddles, Mother," Elira said. "You act as if you know him already, but you cannot. He comes from Earth, not from our world." There was a pause. Then the Queen spoke softly, almost a whisper. Not all things are as they seem, my daughter. Rin froze in the hallway. His chest tightened. The words struck him deeply, as if meant for him as much as for Elira. His hand trembled slightly on the stone wall. What did she mean? What did she see in him? He stepped back quietly, not wanting to be caught listening. He returned to his chamber, but the words would not leave his mind. Dreams of the past. That night, Rin's sleep was troubled. Dreams flooded his mind. He saw fire in the sky, a broken ship falling through clouds. He heard his own cries as a child, lost and afraid. He saw a figure of light bending over him, lifting him, whispering words he could not understand. The face was blurred, but the voice was warm, gentle, and strong. It was the same voice he had heard in the Cave of Courage. The Queen's voice. He woke with a start, sweat on his forehead. The memory felt real, more real than a dream. He whispered to himself, was it her? The princess watches. The next morning, Princess Elira found Rin in the training grounds. He practiced quietly with his blade, moving with patience and control. She stood at a distance, watching. She wanted to mock him again, but the words would not come. Instead, she asked, why do you train when you already passed the trials? Rin lowered his blade. Because the trials were not the end. Life itself is a trial. If I stop, I will fail the next challenge that comes. Elira blinked. She had not expected such an answer. She felt something stir inside her, a small crack in her pride. She walked closer. You are strange, human. My people fight for glory, you fight for something else. What is it? Rin looked at the sky. I fight because once, long ago, I was powerless. I swore never again to let fear or weakness rule me. I fight so others may stand safe. His words struck her. She turned away quickly, hiding her face. You speak as if you carry secrets. Perhaps you do. Rin said nothing, but his eyes carried a shadow of truth. The Queen's warning that evening. The Queen summoned Rin to her private chamber. The room was filled with silver light from the stars above. She stood by the window, her back to him. You walk our halls with questions in your heart, she said softly. You dream of the past. You wonder why I look at you as I do. Rin stood silent, his chest tight. He could not deny her words. The Queen turned to face him. Her eyes glowed faintly in the starlight. There are truths not yet ready to be spoken. But know this. The stars carried you here once before. You are not a stranger to this world, though you may not remember. Rin felt his breath catch. The words were heavy with meaning, yet left him with more questions than answers. He opened his mouth to ask, but the Queen raised her hand gently. In time, she said, for now walk your path. The answers will find you when you are ready. She dismissed him with a nod. Rin bowed and left, his mind spinning. The princess's unease. After Rin left, Princess Elira entered the chamber. She had heard only the end of their talk, but it was enough to stir suspicion. Mother, she said sharply, you speak to him as if he belongs here. Why? What are you hiding from me? The Queen looked at her daughter with calm eyes. Patience, Elira. The time will come when you must know everything. For now, watch him. Learn from him. Elira clenched her fists. She did not like secrets, especially from her own mother. Yet she could not deny the strange pull she felt toward the human. A shadow rising. Far beyond the Solari capital, deep in the black of space, a fleet of warships moved. Their banners carried the mark of the Vorak Empire, rivals of the Solari. Their leader stood on the bridge of the flagship, his eyes cold. He looked at a hologram of the Solari capital. The Solari celebrate a human warrior, he said with scorn. Let them cheer. Soon their joy will turn to ashes. Prepare the fleet. The war drums of the Vorak began to beat, echoing across the stars. Rin did not know of this rising threat. He only knew that questions surrounded him, questions of his past, of the Queen's secrets, of the strange bond he felt with her. The Princess still doubted him, yet her heart was changing. The truth was close, but so was danger. The trials were over, but a greater test was yet to come. The Solari capital woke to a sky painted with red light. At first, people thought it was dawn breaking early. But then the alarms rang through the golden towers. The crystals on the palace walls flashed, and warriors rushed to their posts. The red was not sunrise. It was the glow of enemy engines entering orbit. The Vorak Empire had come. The Vorak were known across the stars as conquerors. Where the Solari built towers and art, the Vorak built warships and chains. Their fleets were like black storms, their soldiers ruthless. For many years they had fought small battles with the Solari along the borders of space. But now, they had brought their full might. From the palace balcony, Princess Illyra stood beside her mother looking to the skies. Her silver eyes narrowed as she watched dark shapes descend from orbit. "The Vorak do not come for trade," she said. "They come to destroy." The queen nodded slowly. "And they come at a time when our people celebrate. They choose their moment well." Illyra turned quickly. "Then I will lead the armies. Let me fight them, mother. I will show them the strength of the Solari." But the queen's gaze drifted to Rin, who stood below with the palace guards. His hand rested on his blade, his face calm as he looked toward the skies. "You will fight," the queen said softly, "but you will not fight alone. The human will stand beside you." Illyra frowned. "Beside me? He is not Solari. This is our war." The queen's voice grew firm. "This is more than our war, Illyra. The Vorak will not stop with us. They will spread to other stars, perhaps even Earth. Remember what you saw in the trials. This human is more than he seems." Illyra wanted to argue, but the look in her mother's eyes stopped her. She turned away, crossing her arms, hiding the storm of emotions inside. The enemy approaches. By midday, the Vorak fleet filled the skies. Their ships were black like blades, their weapons glowing red. From the palace walls, the people of the Solari watched with fear and anger. The enemy sent a single message. A towering figure of a Vorak commander appeared in the sky above the capital, projected for all to see. His armor was jagged, his face marked with scars. His voice was deep and filled with scorn. "People of the Solari," he said, "your time has ended. Surrender your queen, your armies, and your world, and we may let some of you live. Resist, and we will burn your towers to dust." The crowd shouted in rage. Warriors lifted their weapons, calling for battle. Rin stepped forward, standing beside the queen and princess. He looked up at the giant image of the Vorak commander. His voice was quiet, but it carried to those near him. "They speak as if victory is already theirs, but pride is their weakness. If we stand together, we can break them." Princess Illyra glanced at him, surprised at his calmness. She still wanted to reject him, yet she could not deny his courage. The queen lifted her hand. Her voice rang through the capital. "We are the Solari. We do not kneel. We do not surrender. If the Vorak wish for war, they will find it." The people roared in answer, preparing for battle. The palace became a storm of movement. Armor was brought, weapons sharpened, war banners raised. Crystal towers glowed brighter, feeding power into the city's shields. Rin was given Solari armor, lighter than his own, but strong. He fastened it carefully, feeling its strange energy flow into his body. It was not human steel, but living crystal, humming with light. Princess Illyra entered the war hall dressed in silver battle armor. She carried a long spear that shone like lightning. When she saw Rin in Solari armor, she raised an eyebrow. "You wear it well for a human," she said. Rin bowed his head slightly. "Armor is only as strong as the one who wears it." Her lips curved into the faintest smile, though she quickly hid it. The queen entered the hall last, wearing a golden robe, not armor. Her presence alone was enough to steady every warrior. She placed her hands on the shoulders of her daughter, and Rin. "You two will lead together," she said firmly. "Illyra, you carry the fire of the Solari. Rin, you carry the heart of Earth. Together you may be the bridge that saves us all." Illyra hesitated, then gave a short nod. Rin bowed deeply, accepting the duty. Rin's memory returns. That night before the battle, Rin walked alone through the palace halls. His heart was heavy with the weight of what lay ahead. As he passed a quiet chamber, his steps slowed. The walls were lined with ancient murals, scenes of the Solari's history. Among them, one painting made him stop. It showed a queen long, Ego, carrying a small human child in her arms. Rin's breath caught, his chest tightened. His hand lifted slowly, touching the painting as if to be sure it was real. In that moment, memories rushed back like a river breaking free. He remembered fire in the sky. He remembered being pulled from a broken ship. He remembered the soft voice of a woman whispering comfort. He remembered silver eyes watching over him. The queen. He dropped to his knees, overwhelmed. It was her. She saved me. When he looked up, he saw the queen standing at the doorway. She had followed him in silence. Her face was calm, but her eyes glistened with memory. "Yes," she said softly. "Long ago, when you were only a child, I found you. I held you in my arms. I kept you safe for a time. And then you were taken, from me." Rin's voice trembled. "Why did you not tell me?" "Because the time was not right," she answered. "Because fate had to bring you back in its own way. And because I feared what the truth might do to my daughter." Rin lowered, his head unable to speak. His heart raced with a mix of gratitude, sorrow, and confusion. The queen touched his shoulder gently. "Tomorrow the war will test us all. But know this, Rin. You are not just a guest here. You are part of this world. You always were." Enemy strikes. The next morning, the skies opened with fire. The Vorak fleet descended and waves of soldiers poured onto the ground in iron ships. Their weapons burned red, tearing through the city's shields. The Solari answered with their crystal cannons and shining spears. The capital shook with the clash of war. Princess Elira led her warriors with fierce strength, her spear flashing like lightning. Rin fought beside her, his blade cutting through enemy ranks with precision and courage. At first, some Solari warriors doubted fighting beside a human. But as they saw him stand firm, saving those around him, their doubts turned to cheers. "Rin!" they shouted. "Fight with us!" Elira, in the heat of battle, caught herself watching him more than once. His courage was unshaken, his movements steady. She felt the bond her mother had spoken of, though she did not yet understand it. The Vorak pressed hard. Their numbers seemed endless. But together the Solari and the human warrior held the line. The queen's revelation nears high above. The queen stood on the palace balcony, watching the battle. Her heart ached as she saw her daughter and Rin fighting side by side. She knew the truth could not be hidden much longer. When Elira laughed at the human, she had stayed silent. When the trials ended, she had only hinted. But now, with war threatening to tear her world apart, she realized she would soon need to speak the full truth. The words echoed in her mind, words she had never spoken aloud. "Elira, the human you mocked, is the child I once saved. He is not just a warrior. He is part of our family." The battle raged into the night. Fire lit the skies, the ground shook, and the fate of the Solari hung by a thread. Rin fought with all his strength, Elira by his side, the queen watching with both pride and sorrow. The war had begun, but beneath it, a deeper battle stirred. The battle of truth, of family, of destiny. And soon the princess would hear the words that would change everything. The sky above the Solari capital was alive with fire and light. The Vorak fleet pressed harder, their warships cutting through the clouds like black blades. Ground troops poured into the city, clashing with Solari warriors who fought with every ounce of strength. Princess Elira and Rin moved together at the front line. Their weapons gleamed in the fiery glow, cutting through Vorak soldiers. Sparks flew as spears clashed against enemy armor, and the screams of battle echoed through the streets. Elira's silver eyes burned with determination. She had once laughed at this human, seeing him as small and weak. Now she fought side by side with him. realizing how wrong she had been. Rin's movements were precise and calm. He did not hesitate. He did not falter. His courage inspired everyone. Near him. "We must hold the east gate," a Solari captain shouted. Rin nodded. "Then we hold it together." Illyra glanced at him, seeing more than just a warrior. She saw the heart of someone who had faced fear long ago, someone who carried strength not only in his body, but in his spirit. The final push, the Vorak commander appeared on the battlefield, riding a massive armored beast. His red armor shone like fire, and his voice boomed over the clash of battle. "Solari," he yelled, "your warriors are weak. Surrender now, or be destroyed." Illyra stepped forward, raising her spear high. "We do not surrender," she shouted. Her voice carried across the battlefield, rallying the warriors. Rin moved beside her. His blade met the Vorak commander's strikes, their power shaking the ground. Together, he and Illyra pushed back the enemy forces, their movements in perfect harmony. Solari warriors around them cheered, inspired by the unity of human and princess. Their hope, which had wavered under fear, grew stronger. The Queen's revelation. Meanwhile, the Queen watched from the palace balcony. The battle raged below, but her mind was focused on one thing: the truth. She had kept the secret too long. The time had come. She called to her daughter. "Illyra, stop the fight for a moment. You must—" "Hear this," Illyra frowned but obeyed. She and Rin ran to the balcony, the clash of swords and roar of engines still echoing below. The Queen's eyes softened as she looked at Rin. "It is time," she said. "The truth must be spoken. The human warrior you mocked, he is not only a guest in this kingdom. He is part of our family. He is your father." Illyra froze. Her silver eyes widened. "Father?" she whispered, unable to comprehend. Rin stepped back, his own heart racing. He had felt the connection for days, but hearing it confirmed shook him deeply. "Mother?" he asked, his voice low. The Queen nodded. "Long ago, when you were a child, I found you lost among the stars. You had been in a shipwreck, alone and afraid. I carried you to safety, and for a time you were mine to protect. The universe took you from me. But now, fate has returned you." Illyra's hands trembled. She looked at Rin, seeing not a stranger, not a human warrior, but someone tied to her family, someone who had always belonged in her life. Her mind struggled to catch up with the truth. You are my father?" she said, her voice barely audible. Rin knelt before her, his eyes filled with emotion. I think so," he said. "I have memories, fragments of being held, protected, a voice guiding me." The Queen stepped closer. "Yes, and now the Vorak threaten all we love. Together as family you must fight, not just as warriors but as one." Illyra's fear faded, replaced by a new strength. She nodded. "Then we fight together. The final battle." The sun dipped below the horizon as the Vorak pressed their attack. Red fires burned across the city and smoke curled into the sky. Yet in the east gate, Rin and Illyra stood strong. Their warriors rallied behind them. Rin raised his sword, and Illyra lifted her spear. "For our people," they shouted together. The Vorak commander charged. His massive beast crashed toward them, the ground shaking with every step. Illyra met him with her spear, her movements precise and fierce. Rin struck from the side, cutting through Vorak soldiers who tried to flank them. They moved in harmony, human and Solari together. Every attack they made pushed the enemy back. The Solari warriors, inspired by their courage, fought with renewed determination. Illyra glanced at Rin during the fight. She felt a bond stronger than anything she had known. Trust, respect, and the knowledge that this man had always been connected to her life, even if she had not understood it before. Rin saw her look and nodded briefly. No words were needed. Together they turned the tide. Victory and unity. The battle raged until the stars were high in the sky. The Vorak fleet, surprised by the unity and courage of the Solari and the human warrior, began to retreat. Their ships turned toward space. Their soldiers pulled back, beaten but alive. The capital was battered but standing. The Solari cheered, their banners waving in the night wind. Rin lowered his sword, exhausted but unbroken. Illyra stood beside him, her spear held high, her heart full. The queen descended to the battlefield, her robe flowing in the wind. She embraced Rin, and then her daughter. "You have both fought bravely," she said. "But more importantly, you have shown what family can do. Humans and Solari, together, we are stronger than any enemy." Illyra looked at Rin, her eyes shining. "I mocked you," she said softly. "But I see now. You are more than a warrior. You are part of us." Rin smiled faintly, bowing his head. "I only fought because I had to. But I am honored to be part of your family." Queen nodded, her face proud. "And now the past and future are joined. We will rebuild and we will grow stronger. Together. A new beginning." The city worked through the night, repairing shields, rebuilding walls, and caring for the wounded. The Solari and humans worked side by side, laughter mixing with the sounds of labor. Children played among the ruins, learning from the stories of bravery they had witnessed. Rin walked through the streets, seeing people smile at him, not as a stranger, but as someone who belonged. He felt a warmth in his heart, knowing he had found his place, his family, and his people. Princess Illyra approached him, her eyes bright. "You fought with courage, wisdom, and heart," she said. "I will never laugh at you again." Rin smiled. "Then we can begin anew." The queen watched them from the balcony, feeling peace for the first time in years. The child she had saved had returned, not only as a warrior, but as a bridge between two worlds. The trials, the battles, the secrets all had led to this moment. Above them the stars shone brightly, as if celebrating the unity of the Solari and the human warrior. The Vorak may return one day, but now the bond between these two peoples was unbreakable. Rin looked at Illyra and the queen, a sense of belonging washing over him. He was not alone. He had a family, a home, and a future. Princess Illyra, once proud and mocking, now understood the truth. She laughed softly, not in scorn, but in joy. "We will face whatever comes," she said, "together." Rin nodded, feeling the weight of the past lift from his shoulders. The battles had tested him, the truth had challenged him, but he had survived, and now he truly belonged. The Solari capital glowed in the night, alive with hope, courage, and the promise of a future where humans and Solari stood side by side. And for the first time, Rin smiled fully, knowing that the journey among the stars had led him home.